Ladies and gentlemen, belief is the foundation of all achievement. It is the starting point of every breakthrough, every invention, every act of greatness that has ever shaped the world. Before any action is taken, before any success is earned, belief must take root in the mind. It is belief that allows people to dream beyond their current circumstances. It is belief that fuels the long nights, the setbacks, the criticism, and the moments of solitude when no one else sees the vision. Without belief, even the most brilliant ideas wither away under the weight of doubt and fear. When you look at those who have accomplished extraordinary things, whether in business, science, art, or sports, you will find one common thread. They believed it was possible before there was any evidence. They believed when no one else did. They believed when their bank accounts were empty, when the doors were slammed in their faces, and when the results weren't showing. That inner fire, that unshakable belief, is what carried them forward. It gave them the energy to try again, to fail better, and to keep showing up. Belief became their compass when everything around them said, "Turn back." The power of belief doesn't come from blind optimism. It comes from aligning your thoughts with your deepest desires and acting as if those desires are already within reach. When someone truly believes in a goal, their behavior changes. They speak differently. They think strategically. They move with purpose. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, inspire them, and reflect the same level of commitment. Belief sets the tone for how you treat time, how you handle pressure, and how you respond to obstacles. It becomes the lens through which you see the world, not as it is, but as it could be. Even small acts of belief can snowball into massive shifts. A person who believes they can become stronger begins to train, eat better, and push through discomfort. A person who believes they can lead begins to take responsibility, speak up, and make decisions with confidence. The process of growth is ignited by belief. It is the soil in which skill, knowledge, and experience take root. Without belief, people wait for permission, wait for proof, wait for perfect timing. But those who believe create momentum through their own conviction. They don't wait for life to hand them a guarantee. They understand that belief is not a reward for results. It's the cause of them. Everything that exists around us today, from the tallest skyscraper to the smallest microchip, once existed only in the mind of a believer. Every revolution, every movement, every solution to a problem began with someone who chose to think, "Why not?" or "What if?" That question, powered by belief, has changed the course of history more times than we can count. Belief is not just internal encouragement, it's a force. It shapes behavior, it guides decisions, and it creates outcomes. It determines how much effort someone is willing to give, how much failure they're willing to endure, and how far they're willing to stretch themselves. Belief is a choice, not a gift. It's not something reserved for the lucky few or granted by some outside force. It is a decision, sometimes quiet, sometimes bold, but always within reach. Far too often, people imagine belief as something that simply happens to them, like a spark of lightning or a sudden wave of confidence. But the truth is, belief is built deliberately over time through repetition, awareness, and effort. It doesn't always come easily, but it can always be cultivated. Every person has the power to choose what they believe about themselves, their future, and their potential. And that choice becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Belief doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't wait until everything lines up or until every doubt disappears. In fact, the most powerful form of belief is the one that grows in the presence of doubt. Choosing to believe despite uncertainty is one of the most courageous things a person can do. It's not about pretending that fear doesn't exist. It's about refusing to let fear have the final word. It's looking at the gap between where you are and where you want to be and still saying, "I'm going to keep moving." This choice is made in the small, quiet moments more often than in grand declarations. It's choosing to show up when it would be easier to stay hidden. It's choosing to speak kindly to yourself when the old inner critic tries to tear you down. It's choosing to take the first step, even when you can't see the full path ahead. Over time, these choices stack up. One act of belief leads to another, and slowly, what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. The mind begins to shift, the heart begins to trust, and belief becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a habit. People often wait for outside validation before they allow themselves to believe. They want signs, support, applause. But belief that depends on others is fragile. It breaks the moment someone questions it. Real belief, the kind that changes lives, comes from within. It is self-generated, self-renewing, and deeply personal. When someone commits to believing in their own worth, in their capacity to learn, grow, and evolve, they begin to build a foundation that nothing can shake. That choice becomes armor in the face of criticism and fuel in the face of fatigue. The beauty of belief as a choice is that it's available to everyone, regardless of background, resources, or circumstances. No matter how many times you've failed, no matter how long you've doubted, you can still choose today to believe a little more than you did yesterday. You can choose to reframe the narrative you've been telling yourself. You can choose to bet on your future rather than cling to your past. This is not just a motivational idea. It's a practical truth. Every single transformation, whether personal or professional, begins with a shift in belief. And that shift begins with one brave decision: to choose belief again and again. You don't need to know how. It starts with belief. This is one of the most powerful truths in any journey of growth or achievement. So many people get stuck before they even begin, paralyzed by the uncertainty of not knowing every step of the path ahead. They want clarity. They want guarantees. They want a complete roadmap before taking action. But the truth is, clarity doesn't come first. Belief does. The how reveals itself through movement, not through overthinking. When you commit to a goal or a vision and truly believe it is possible, you activate a force within yourself that starts attracting the right ideas, people, and opportunities. Belief opens your mind to possibilities that would otherwise remain invisible. It expands your perception and makes you more aware of the solutions around you. When you are locked in doubt, you overlook answers, you dismiss chances. But when you believe, your focus shifts. You begin to ask better questions, take bolder steps, and explore with more courage. You begin to act as if your goal is already possible. And that shift in mindset transforms the energy behind every decision you make. The most successful people in the world didn't start with perfect plans. They didn't know every detail in advance. They started with belief. They started with a decision to trust in their vision and move forward, even if the road wasn't clear. That belief gave them resilience during setbacks and resourcefulness during uncertainty. It gave them the strength to try, fail, learn, and try again. In the process of moving forward with belief, they discovered the how. They created the path by walking it. This idea doesn't mean you should move blindly or without thought. It means you shouldn't wait for certainty before taking action. You don't need to know every step before taking the first one. Belief is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It gives you permission to begin, even with incomplete knowledge. And once you begin, momentum builds. That momentum brings clarity. Experience teaches you. The lessons shape your strategy. But none of it happens until you take that first step, driven by belief. People often underestimate the value of starting before they're ready. They think they need more preparation, more confidence, more evidence. But the most important thing they need is belief. The belief that they will figure it out. The belief that they have what it takes to grow through the challenges. The belief that even if they don't know exactly how, they are willing to learn. That mindset is more powerful than any plan because it turns obstacles into opportunities for discovery. There's a kind of freedom in this truth. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to see the whole staircase. All you need is the courage to take the next step, with belief as your guide. Belief turns confusion into curiosity. It turns hesitation into action. It turns dreams into plans, and plans into progress. True believers reshape reality. They do not merely accept the world as it is, they imagine how it could be, and then they act accordingly. Belief at this level becomes more than personal encouragement. It becomes a force that changes the environment, the conversation, and the course of events. History is filled with individuals who looked at what was considered normal or acceptable and said, "There's something more possible here." These were not always the most skilled, the most resourced, or the most prepared, but they were the ones who believed deeply enough to challenge what others accepted as limit. Believers carry a different kind of energy. It's not loud or boastful. It's grounded, focused, and persistent. They may be doubted by others, but they are never deterred. Their belief becomes a blueprint, even if it's invisible to everyone else at the beginning. They walk through uncertainty with conviction, trusting in the vision long before it is real. That trust allows them to act in ways that are bold and sometimes misunderstood. But through consistent action, they shift perspectives. They prove what can be done. They turn imagination into impact. This type of belief is magnetic. It draws in support, not because the believer begs for it, but because others are inspired by their clarity and commitment. People want to follow those who believe. They want to be part of something bigger, something daring. That's how movements begin. That's how inventions are born. That's how leaders emerge, not by waiting for approval, but by believing so strongly in a new reality that they inspire others to help build it. What sets true believers apart is that they don't depend on current circumstances to define what's possible. They might be surrounded by limitations, but they don't absorb those limits into their identity. Instead, they act based on where they're going, not where they are. Their focus is on what they're creating, not what they're lacking. This mindset allows them to take actions that seem irrational to the outside world, but completely necessary to the world they're building. Belief at this level requires courage. It's easy to fall into the habit of playing it safe, doing what's been done, thinking what others think. But belief disrupts that pattern. It says there is a better way, and then it demands that you rise to meet that possibility. It might be uncomfortable, it might feel lonely, but it's also the space where transformation happens. When one person believes in a new way of living, thinking, or doing, and commits to it without apology, they become a mirror for others. They make others question their own limits. They awaken ideas that have been buried under years of fear or conformity. Every major advancement, from technology to human rights, was pushed forward by people who chose to believe in something better. They weren't reacting to the world, they were rewriting it. They believed not just in the potential of their ideas, but in the potential of people to grow into those ideas. They refused to let today's circumstances define tomorrow's possibilities. Belief transforms obstacles into stepping stones. What most people see as the end of the road, those with belief see as the beginning of a new path. They don't deny the existence of challenges, but they refuse to be defined by them. When setbacks occur, and they always do, believers don't crumble, they adapt. They look for meaning in the failure, for wisdom in the delay, and for strength in the struggle. Every obstacle becomes a test, not of their abilities, but of their belief. And when belief is strong, no challenge can break the spirit behind it. This is what separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck. It's not that believers face fewer problems. In fact, the pursuit of meaningful goals often invites greater resistance. But belief changes how problems are perceived. A rejection is no longer a verdict, it's a redirection. A delay is no longer a denial, it's an opportunity to grow deeper roots. The moment you shift your mindset from, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me, is the moment you reclaim power. And belief makes that shift possible. Believers are resilient because they expect the path to be difficult. They understand that the climb is part of the process. Rather than looking for shortcuts, they embrace the journey. They know that every difficulty has something to offer. A new skill, a fresh perspective, a stronger sense of purpose. What others call failure, they call feedback. This outlook doesn't eliminate pain, but it gives pain a purpose. It keeps them moving when others give up. It keeps them learning, evolving, and inching closer to the vision they refuse to let go of. Obstacles are inevitable. Life will throw unexpected problems, disappointments, and distractions, but belief acts as a filter. It doesn't make the road smoother, but it helps you navigate it with focus. It reminds you why you started. It anchors you in your mission, even when the world feels chaotic. And as you overcome each barrier, your belief becomes stronger. You begin to trust yourself more. You start to realize that difficulty isn't a signal to quit. It's proof that you're in pursuit of something meaningful. The power of belief lies in its ability to reframe adversity. Instead of asking, can I survive this? The question becomes, how can I use this? That shift turns loss into leverage. It transforms fear into fuel. Every challenge becomes a stepping stone, not because it disappears, but because belief allows you to step over it rather than be buried under it. The path forward may be messy, imperfect, and unclear, but believers move anyway. They know that progress doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. And that persistence, driven by belief, creates momentum. That momentum opens new doors, reveals hidden strengths, and proves that what once looked like a roadblock was really just a part of the foundation being laid for something greater. Believing boldly empowers your dreams to manifest. When you believe with intensity, with clarity, and with commitment, you breathe life into your vision. You turn an invisible idea into something that starts to take shape in the world around you. The boldness of your belief directly influences the strength of your actions. It affects how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you respond when things don't go as planned. If belief becomes the engine, and boldness becomes the fuel that pushes that engine forward, even when the road is uncertain. There is a noticeable difference between passive hope and bold belief. Hope waits. Belief acts. Bold belief moves with confidence, even when there is no clear path ahead. It doesn't seek permission or validation. It sets the tone and invites the world to rise to meet it. People who believe boldly don't just wish things would change. They commit to becoming the person capable of making that change happen. That internal shift turns a dream into a mission, something worth sacrificing for, working toward, and standing up for when it's challenged. The bolder the belief, the more it begins to shape your reality. You begin to take risks that align with your future, not your past. You speak with authority, not because you know every answer, but because you trust your direction. This kind of belief draws opportunities closer, because boldness is magnetic. It signals to others that you are serious, that you are invested, that you are not entertaining failure as an option. And that unwavering energy often attracts people, resources, and circumstances that support the realization of your vision. Belief also influences how you handle resistance. When things go wrong, someone with timid belief may retreat or second-guess everything. But someone who believes boldly leans in. They look at setbacks as temporary, not permanent. They adjust their strategy without abandoning their goal. That resilience, grounded in conviction, keeps their momentum alive. It keeps them in motion when others stall. It keeps their dream alive, not just in thought, but in action. There's also a contagious quality to bold belief. When others see someone pursuing a dream with total conviction, it sparks something in them. It gives them permission to dream bigger, to take chances, to believe in their own potential. Bold belief isn't just personal, it's powerful enough to ripple outward and affect those who come into contact with it. It changes conversations, it shifts culture, it ignites teams, families, and communities. When you believe boldly, you stop shrinking to fit inside old versions of yourself. You let go of playing small. You stop waiting for signs and start creating them. You move differently. You think beyond limits, beyond timelines, beyond what others say is realistic. You don't settle for what is, you push for what could be. That boldness doesn't just change your actions, it changes your identity. You become someone who expects growth, expects breakthroughs, and expects your dreams to come to life because you are doing the work to bring them into existence.